Welcome to Channel 2 Polar Bear News. My name is Kennedy Adams, and this is my partner, Sarah.
Hello. Today's show, I will be talking about the storyline of real-life murder of Emmett Till. In August 1955, a 14-year-old boy went to visit relatives near Money, Mississippi. When he showed some local boys a picture of a white girl who was one of his friends back home and bragged that she was his girlfriend, one of them said, "Hey, there's a white girl in that store there. I bet you won't go in there and talk to her." Emmett went in and bought some candy. As he left, he said, "Bye, baby," to Carol Bryant, the wife of the store owner. A few days later, two men came to the cabin of Mose Wright, Emmett's uncle, in the middle of the night. Roy Bryant, the owner of the store, and J.W. Millen, his brother-in-law, drove off with Emmett. 3 days later, Emmett Till's body was found in the Tallahatchie River. One eye was gouged out, and his crushed-in head had a bullet in it. The Emmett Till case quickly attracted national attention. Mamie Bradley, Emmett's mother, asked that the body be shipped back to Chicago. When it arrived, she inspected it carefully to ensure that it was really her son. Then she insisted on an open casket funeral so that all the world could see what they did to my son. Over 4 days, thousands of people saw Emmett's body. These pictures moved blacks in a way that nothing else had. When the Cleveland Call and Post polled major black radio preachers around the country, found that 5 of every 6 were preaching about Emmett Till, and half of them were demanding that something be done in Mississippi now. 5 prominent lawyers stepped forward to defend Millen and Bryant, and officials who had at first denounced the murder began supporting the accused murderers. The 2 men went on trial in a segregated courthouse in Sumner, Mississippi on September 19, 1955. The prosecution had double-finding witness willing to testify against the 2 men. At the time, in Mississippi, it was unheard of for a black publicly accuse a white of committing a crime. Finally, Emmett's 64-year-old uncle Mose Wright stepped forward. When asked if he could point out the men who had taken his nephew that dark night, he stood, pointed to Millen and Bryant, and said, "There he is." Wright's bravery encouraged other blacks to testify against the 2 defendants. They deliberated for just over an hour. They returned a not guilty verdict on September 23rd, the 166th anniversary of signing of the Bill of Rights. The jury foreman later explained, "I feel the state failed to prove the identity of the body." In Mamie Bradley's words, 2 months ago, I had a nice apartment in Chicago. I had a good job. I also had a son. When something happened to the Negroes in the South, I said, "That's their business, not mine." Now I know how wrong I was. The murder of my son was shown me that what happens to any of us, anywhere in the world, had better to be business of all. Blacks in the North and as well in the South would not easily forget the murder of Emmett Till. This is all according to www.watson.org/blackhistory/emmett.html. And now to you, Kennedy.
Thank you, Sarah. Today I will be talking to you about a few topics from the book Mississippi Trial 1955 by Chris Crow. First of all, I am talking about the White Citizens Council. That was basically a newspaper that first started in Mississippi, and Grandpa attended the meetings basically all the time in the book. The mysterious third person in the truck, that was, if you read the book, obviously Grandpa. He was the third person, and in real life there was more than 3 people, so we're not sure because Grandpa is a fictional character. Emmett getting beat up by the river. So it never happened because RC isn't real, so Emmett could have never met RC and never gotten beaten up. And we don't even know if he was by the river in the first place. The trial. In the book, it seemed like it was all up to Hiram to have the men to be guilty, but it turns out Hiram never had to testify, so the men were never guilty, and also in real life, the men were never guilty, like, in real life. Hiram and Dad's relationship, I believe, in my opinion, that in the beginning, their relationship was, like, horrible. They fought all the time, and they argued, and they just, like, went full out. With Hiram and Naomi's relationship, I think they're an adorable couple. but I couldn't really tell if they were a couple or not. I mean, Ruth Ann would say, "Are you going to go see your girlfriend or something?" But I don't know. So that's it. Now to you, Lexi.
I'm Lexi, and I'm going to be telling you about the characters in the book Mississippi Trial, 1955. In this story, the main character's name is Hiram Kilburn. He is a white teenage boy, and he used to live in Greenwood, Mississippi, before his parents took him away. He has always wanted to go back, but when he finally does, he doesn't know if that's what he really wanted. Hiram thinks that blacks should be treated like whites, and that everyone should be treated fairly. In the South, this is not the case. Hiram is appalled by what he sees and what happens. When the trial takes place, Hiram doesn't know what he should do. Finally, he does the right thing and goes to it, but is never called to testify. For what my research says, Hiram is not a real person and is fictional. According to EmmettTill.com, there is nothing that says anything about Hiram. The next person is about Grandpa. Grandpa loves Hiram very, very much. He has always wanted the best for Hiram, and after Hiram leaves, he wants him to come back. Grandpa thinks that blacks should work the land and that they don't feel the heat. He also thinks that whites should be the leaders and that blacks should be the workers. On page 8, it says what Grandpa thinks about them. Son, let me tell you something. God made Negroes to work the land. They don't feel heat like we do. They can work all day in this hellish weather. You're meant to be the boss, not the worker. Grandpa and his son, Harlan, Hiram's father, do not get along and they hate to be around each other. They disagree about how blacks should be treated and about racism. Grandpa was part of the White Citizens Council and is the mystery third person in Emmett Till's murder. He is also a fictitious character, and nothing in my research says that he was actually a real person. According to EmmettTillMurder.com, Grandpa was not the mystery third person and never existed. Roy Bryant was one of the suspected killers of Emmett Till and admitted to it with his half-brother, J.W. Millen. Even though they admitted to it, they pled guilty and neither were sent to jail. Roy was said to be a good citizen and was kind to all and never stirred up any trouble. He is a respected white man and was liked by all in the community. He owned Bryan's Meat Market and Grocery, and his wife was the woman that Emmett Till Wolf whistled at. According to Wikipedia and EmmettTillMurder.com, Roy Bryant was a real person and was not fictitious. J.W. Millen was the other man that kidnapped and helped kill Emmett Till. He admitted to the crime but was never sent to prison. He was born in 1919 and died of cancer in 1980. In the book, Hiram says that he is appalled by what he sees and what his half-brother is doing in court. He's sitting in trial for murder, and he had little children sitting on his lap like it's no big deal. He and Roy Bryant were close friends and often helped each other out during tough situations, and for them this was just another problem that needs to be taken care of. These were both real people and helped kill Emmett Till. Mrs. Bradley was the mother of Emmett Till, who died in 2004. She was born in Tallahatchie County, and she let Emmett visit relatives there. She and Emmett lived in Argo, Illinois. She was married 4 times, and her first husband, Emmett's father, was killed in Italy. Her son's death helped spark the civil rights movement, and if Emmett had not died, many more blacks would have died. Emmett Till's mother was a real person. Henry Clarence Strider was sheriff when Emmett Till died. He was born in 1904 and died in 1970. He owned a plantation with African-American workers. He supported that Bryant and Millen hadn't killed Emmett and was almost shot in his car because of supporting them. He served as state senator for Grenda and Tallahatchie counties until he died. Henry Clarence Strider was a real man, according to EmmettTill.com. Okay, now on to Mose Wright. Mose Wright was born in 1892 and died in 1977. He was the great uncle to Emmett. He was born in Mississippi and was a preacher. Emmett Till came down to see him when Emmett died. He identified Millen and Bryant as the men who came into his house to take Emmett. On page 168, he says one of the men asked me how old I was, and I told him I was 64. He said, "You better not cause any trouble, preacher, or you won't live to be 65. Mose Wright was a real person, and according to Wikipedia and EmmettTillMurder.com, he was real. He was really Emmett's great uncle. And those are all of the characters in the story.
Go.
Naomi was Hiram's first girlfriend. She is R.C.'s sister. Her mother died when she was 7, and she has had to hold the house down since she was 8 years old. Her father beats her and R.C., and when Hiram comes back to Greenwood, she tells him to be careful and not to go to the trial. She cares a lot about R.C., even though he's mean. Naomi wasn't a real person, but her name was based off of a real person. She has a strong connection to Hiram. R.C. was one of Hiram's first friends. When Hiram first sees what he does to the fish, Hiram decides that he doesn't want to be friends with him or to be around him. On page 23 and 24, Hiram says what he thinks about what R.C. does to the fish. I felt like I was going to throw up, but I did nothing to stop R.C. Later in the book, Hiram feels the same that he did nothing again when R.C. tells him that he was going to teach Emmett a lesson. When R.C. leaves the house at the end of the book, he tells Hiram that he didn't have anything to do with Emmett's death. He also says that he beat up his dad real good and that he's never coming back. On page 91, R.C. shows Emmett just how mean people in the South can be. R.C. wasn't a real person but was based off of real people that acted like this, and the scene on page 91 wasn't real either, but some people did do things like this. The Remingtons were not real but came into the story 3 times. On page 15, R.C. and Hiram watch them dancing and R.C. throws rocks at them. Ronnie was the person who told Hiram that Grandpa was the 3rd person. According to EmmettTill.com, the Remingtons were not real people.
Now to you, Maya.
And today I'm going to be talking to you about how Emmett Till's murder affected the United States. Both races were shocked on what they've been hearing around town. Emmett Till's mom, Mimi Till, asked that Emmett's body would be sent back to Chicago. After the body arrived, Mimi Till inspected the body to make sure that it really was Emmett's body. She wanted an open casket at the funeral so that people would see what Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam did to her son. Many black people who didn't know about the murder first found out about the picture that had been in the magazine Jet. It had moved them like nothing else they had ever seen. This tragedy has made lots of Americans think about this murder of a 14-year-old boy affected the family and people who used to live around him. In the book, Emmett Till's family wasn't talked much about. We asked the author why Emmett Till's family wasn't talked about that much, and he replied that it was Hiram's story, and to show how he could develop as a character. But Emmett Till will be missed, and he was known for who he was and made the civil rights movement possible.
Now to you, Kylie.
Hello, I'm Kylie, and the main setting of the book is in Greenwood, Mississippi. It is a real place and is in the eastern edge of the Mississippi Delta. It is also located by the Tallahatchie River and Money. Money is also a real city and is where Emmett whistled at Bryant's wife, at the Bryant store. It later closed in 1957 to lack of business. Since Emmett got murdered in Money, it is now a symbol and landmark. The Tallahatchie River flows 85 miles, and the bridge is where Hiram meets Naomi on page 144. The river means rock of water, and the river blends with the Yalabusha River to make the Yazoo River. The bridge is real and is located on the Tallahatchie River.
Thanks for watching.